What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang. This one is an EcoBoost finished off in rapid red. MSRP is about $36,000. Big shout out and thank you to Mooresville Ford for providing this new Mustang EcoBoost for today's video. Take a look at their website, link down below. Underneath the hood of the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang EcoBoost, you're going to find a heavily reworked 2.3 liter inline 4-cylinder. This pumps out 315 horsepower with 350 pound-feet of torque. It's also paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission, sending the power to the rear wheels through a 3.15 limited slip rear differential. This car is rear-wheel drive. Curb weight is around 3,500 pounds, and it runs on a 16-gallon fuel tank. You're also looking at 22 miles per gallon in the city, with 33 out on the highway, and the automatic EcoBoost can even do 0 to 60 in just 4.5 seconds. The overall length is 189.4 inches, with wheelbase at 107. Width is 75.4, and height is 55 inches. Moving on to the styling with the 2024 Ford Mustang, this is now the S650 generation. It has a really nice updated design over the S550. You're also going to see a very cool design for these triple beam LED headlights. You can see that running light up there with the 3 different sections. Very nice sculpture throughout the front bumper. This one has a lot of black plastic for the upper grille. You got a satin silver pony logo right in the center. Overall, it is a pretty large grille to allow a ton of cooling to that EcoBoost 4-cylinder. You can also see some nice trim pieces on the farthest side of the bumper, a little bit of a front splitter, and then more openings down below to provide maximum cooling to that intercooler. Overall, this does have a really cool updated design, sharp lines all throughout it. Still does keep that Mustang heritage with the overall shape. You're going to see that long hood with really sharp lines cutting towards that windshield. At the side, you're going to see these upgraded 19-inch wheels with a split 5-spoke, finished off in a liquid silver color. Have a pretty cool design overall. One sharp line surrounding the front wheel arch, and then a smooth body line cutting through the side of the door panel. Down below, you're going to see a side skirt finished off in more of that plastic material with some pretty nice contours throughout it. We also get a body-colored door handle and body-colored mirror cap, and then some plastic trim surrounding it, and more black plastic trim surrounding these windows. Along the roof, you get 2 subtle sharp lines, shark fin antenna, and the 3rd brake light, and then the overall side profile. The Mustang Coupe is considered the fastback. It does appear to be a little bit longer than the previous generation. You can see how that trunk is a little bit longer in design. Overall, it has very similar proportions. And then in back, you get a really sharp body line over that rear fender arch. Pretty cool looking car overall for sure. And then in back, we get a razor sharp design for these LED taillights. Just like in the past, you're going to see that triple beam design, and I like how they still are 3-dimensional. You can see them lighting up with a black housing, sharp lines throughout the bumper, and then more of this plastic material for the rear bumper. You can see the diffuser with some really cool contours, reverse light down below that, all of your parking sensors. It protrudes outwards just a little bit to give the car that extra length. Then you can see a really sharp line throughout the center of that bumper. You can see how the trunk lid also protrudes forwards. Has a really unique design to it. And then you can see the backup camera and pony logo finishing off the center of the trunk. Moving on to the interior, we have the typical key fob, just like previous generations, lock, unlock, and trunk release. Going ahead and locking the car, keeping the key fob in my pocket, I can just grab the door handle and it will automatically unlock. This Mustang has the space gray interior. This is actually a base model interior, so you're going to see a really cool two-tone for even the most cost-effective option Mustang. Door panels finished off in the two-tone. You're going to see this nice synthetic black material for your padded armrest, and then we have the nice fabric along the insert. More black surrounding it, nice design for your grab handle. You can see all of your window and mirror controls, release handle and lock and unlock, and then a cool plastic material carbon fiber look. You can see Mustang along the door sill. You get a few power controls along with manual recline, and then I like this interior a lot. You're going to see this cool fabric material, the synthetic leather with all the contrast stitching. Nice design for these semi-bucket seats. Cool fabric material making its way all the way up to the headrest with more contrast stitching. Very surprising how nice this is for being a base model. Then you're going to get a black leather wrapped steering wheel with a flat bottom design, more aluminum color, as well as that carbon fiber material. And then now inside the all-new Ford Mustang EcoBoost, keep my foot on the brake. We can go ahead and fire it up. 13-inch infotainment screen and a 12-inch gauge cluster, all digital with a very cool design all throughout. You're gonna see that Mustang logo right in the center. You have some Bluetooth and audio controls on the right side, and then on the left side, you're gonna see all of those cruise control settings. Now, if we take a look at the LCD gauge cluster, in this design, you can see the tach on the left with engine temperature, gears down below, speedometer and fuel on the right side, and then in the center, we can scroll through a few different items using the right side of the steering wheel. Now, if we want to adjust the gauge cluster, we just tap this Mustang logo. It'll pop up with My Mustang, and then you just tap Cluster Theme. From here, you're gonna see all sorts of different designs that you can configure. It'll pop up on the right side as well. So if we start at the top, you're gonna see that design, pretty generic looking. Then we have our normal mode as well. It'll pop up. And then going under the sport mode is where we just were. Really cool futuristic look. The track mode also gives it a really nice performance focused vibe with that huge tachometer. The comm screen will tone it down a little bit, which is a pretty nice look. And then the last one is the Fox body. A lot of people are gonna love this. You got a very retro design with those analog gauges. So definitely a neat touch, and of course you can still toggle through the center to see a few different things. Now if we take a look on the left and right side, you're gonna see that stock for all the windshield wiper controls, turn signals on the left side. Then all of your typical headlight controls are on the left with interior dimming and trunk release. We have one of your air vents, this cool carbon fiber material plastic surrounding it, and then a pretty nice black dashboard. So gone are the traditional double bumps, so it's definitely a much different interior now. You're gonna see Mustang, more of this cool carbon look, nice looking air vent, and then the actual infotainment screen. So in here you have your track apps, so you can adjust all of that. We can view your accessory gauges, which is a really cool touch. Your different drive modes are gonna be right here as well. So we have our normal mode, it'll configure all sorts of different settings within the car. You're gonna see sport, track, drag strip, and then of course a wet mode. So pretty neat to see all of that. Different profiles as well. Of course you can change interior colors, those gauge clusters, things like that. Your main screen, you have audio and phone. Then you have settings on this far right side where you're able to go into all sorts of things, just like in the past. You can adjust different things within the car. You're also gonna see we have features in this vehicle. So if you go to My Mustang, we're back to that screen. We can back out of here, a few more things. And then on the right side, you're able to toggle up and down just like on other Fords. Now, if you go ahead and hit the apps icon, you're gonna see Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are available. We do get heated seats on this one. Tapping the center icon, this is where you get to your climate controls. So you can see all of your different zones. Tap the fan icon, you can easily toggle your fan speed higher and lower. We have your temperature on this left side you can toggle. So it is a really cool design. Overall, it looks really good in this interior. Super easy to operate. And then if we go ahead and put the car into reverse, you're gonna get that backup camera popping up with all those parking sensors. And I like how climate controls are always still there. Now underneath that, you're gonna see those two air vents, more like carbon material, red engine start stop. We have the engine start stop feature, of course that pony logo, favorites, a few more controls and volume. You can see storage down below with auxiliaries, more of the carbon material around the automatic shift knob. No more sport mode for this particular spec, so they now have a low range. And then you can just see the smooth design for the center. They have your two couplers, more of the black vinyl material, and then a typical amount of storage space as you would expect. Glove box on the right side, what you would expect as well. And then overall, one last look. This is a really cool interior, especially being a basic model. This is a really nice spec. Then up on top, we can open this up for a sunglass holder. We have your two dumb lights and a frameless mirror. Now, just like in the past, the Mustang Coupe is still gonna give you back seats. We can grab that lever and then just press this button, and we can automatically pull these seats forward to give you a better look into the back. There also is worth noting, cool little Mustang logo right in that door jamb. So in here, you're gonna see the same materials with this cool fabric material along with that synthetic leather. Same bucket designs as previous generation Mustangs, and you're gonna see two seats. All right, so sitting now in the back of the S650 Ford Mustang, just like in the past, it's the same sloping roofline, that fastback design. Not exactly the most comfortable thing back here. The seats themselves are plenty comfortable, however, there is no headroom. I'm 5'11", not exactly the best place to be. With the driver's seat way up, my knees can fit, but they wouldn't fit all too well within a normal position. So this is great in a pinch if you just have to have someone in the back. Not the worst thing in the world. For kids, probably not too bad. But again, for being, not a four-door car, not the worst thing for being, a sporty two-doored. Moving to the trunk space, there still is a button on the rear bumper you can press. Manually open that up. Of course, you have a button on the key fob as well. In back, similar trunk storage space as before, which is pretty roomy. You know, for being just a two-doored car, this still is pretty darn practical. Underneath the floor, you can lift this up. You're gonna see a good amount of storage space in here with a tire inflator kit. And then after manually folding down the back seats, we can take a look at how much more storage you're gonna get in the back of a Ford Mustang. There's just gonna be 2 fabric straps on each side you're gonna pop, and these will fold down nearly flat, giving you a huge amount of cargo into that trunk to make the Mustang, yet again, a pretty darn practical two-door car. All right, we are setting off now in the new EcoBoost. So we got the cool track gauges, we got the accessory gauges on here as well. And as far as drive modes go, we are, if I can find the right button, we are in the track mode. So it really just tightens up steering a little bit versus not having it as tight. Not too crazy. This one isn't a crazy performance specification, but just driving it around now, this is a pretty nice little car. Got plenty of gas, plenty of power for even just kind of letting it short shift. There's no paddle shifters or anything like that. This isn't a crazy performance one, but it feels kind of sporty, you know, taking some quicker turns, plenty of power to get out of them and everything like that. So far it seems like a pretty cool car to cruise around in. I like all the configurations. It feels really cool, honestly, especially for the price point. You know, this is not crazy expensive at all. It's a pretty affordable car, and yet the interior is nice to be in. You have really comfortable seats with good padding, great visibility all around, just like the previous generation. So it's an easy car just to drive from the day to day. Nothing really crazy about it at all. Good configurations for the seating to get nice and comfortable. This new steering wheel is really cool in your hands too. It's got a small feeling to it, so I definitely like that aspect. But just getting up to speed with those Fox body gauge cluster. You know, it is a pretty peppy 4-cylinder engine. Of course, with these 6 speeds, you have a lot more control with the power. And of course, not being a brand new engine, you could rip on it more a little bit. So overall, kind of first driving impressions, I think the interior is a really good place to be. Armrests are in a great place. They're nice and comfortable. The seats are comfortable. It's just a really easy, normal car to drive. And the fact that this does not break the bank, this is like 10 grand cheaper than the typical new car in today's market. So very easy car to get into. Just driving around, you know, it's got the power to just zip around town, and it's got the comfort and semi-refinement level to feel like you're in something nicer. You know, for this price point, once again, it's quiet in here. We're going 45 miles an hour. I mean, it's just nice and quiet in here. Nothing out of the ordinary or anything like that, which is really good to see. It just feels well insulated, well balanced for what it is. Again, not a sports car, this particular spec, but it feels sporty, it feels fun, and for the price point, it feels like a nice place to be. Using the screen while driving actually isn't all too difficult. I've spent some more time with it now, of course, and it's actually pretty easy, pretty intuitive. The way everything works, it's super simple, and I like the shortcut with that Mustang logo just to get to some of those fun things, changing things, get into those gauges, things like that. So it's cool in here, it really is cool in here. Good storage solutions, everything like that. Not hating it. Now, as far as any performance things go for this particular spec, like I said, this is not a performance spec. We don't have any adaptive suspension or anything fun like that. No paddle shifters. It's a car that you can still zip around in. The steering and handling definitely leaves a lot to be desired, but you can get better trim levels. Of course, you can get a performance package on an EcoBoost or upgrade to a GT, gets performance package on those, or go for a dark horse. So there are way up from here. It only gets better from here. All right, so my honest thoughts with the new EcoBoost. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed with it. Now, I'm not the biggest muscle car fan, so I'm not so crazy into these cars. However, I can appreciate what the Mustang has to offer. It's an iconic car, especially in the USA. Driving in the new S650, I think the biggest thing that surprises me, this is a base model. This is the cheapest interior you can get, as far as I'm aware of. These seats, which have the synthetic leather and the fabric, are really nice. They don't feel like cheap cloth seats. The previous generation, if you got the cloth options, to me, it killed the interior. It just made it feel so cheap. This feels cool. This almost feels like, I mean, I've seen $200,000 Porsches with seats that have a leather and a fabric. Obviously, this isn't genuine leather, but it's $36,000. So the fact that this has cool seats that are comfortable, they look good, a cool looking steering wheel. I mean, yeah, this is all fake carbon fiber, just plastic. It looks cool, and the screens also look great. The fact that you do have the configurability, nothing in here screams base model. Before, you'd have this huge center console with this tiny little screen. You could tell there should have been a much bigger screen here. So this is a nice car to be in. The fact that you get the auxiliary gauges, I mean, this actually is something that looks cool in here. You can go all the way up to the track. It just makes it feel like something that is more premium, a higher end trim level. So this is a cool car for the price. The driving characteristics, it's comfortable, it's nice, it's fine. Give it some gas. It is plenty powerful. I mean, you're gonna zip up to highway speeds, zip around traffic. You can have a lot of fun in this car. And if you do opt in an EcoBoost with a performance package where there's a little bit better drive modes, you know, paddle shifters or a manual, you're gonna get a lot more fun factor and then driver engagement. This particular one without any paddle shifters, this is for the person who would never use paddle shifters anyway. If you just want a sporty, cool Mustang on a good budget, I can see this actually being a pretty cool option to go for. Now, one of the drawbacks I would say could be the climate controls, how there's nothing physical. So you do have to wait for the screen to turn on to start adjusting things. And then you of course have to take extra steps. You have to click something to then adjust it, click something and wait for it, and then adjust the fan speed. So those things like that, it could be easier to have physical controls. However, I'm glad they at least give you them always on the screen. It definitely has a lot to offer and gives you a fun, sporty vibe without breaking the bank. I mean, 4,000 RPM, just kind of controlling the throttle to let it shift around 4,000 on a brand new engine, of course. I mean, it's peppy. I've been smiling driving this car. But if you drive it semi-aggressively, getting on a little bit, like it's pretty cool. It's well done, well balanced, and you know, it only goes up from here. Like I mentioned, it can only get better. And if this is the cheapest, most simple way you can configure this, that's a pretty good sign of the S650 being a strong contender. So getting going again. I mean, that's 50, and again, we're not stressing the engine at all. Well done for sure. Now, these have the basic brakes. On this one, you can opt for a Brembo package, which will give you Brembos all around and 15-inch rotors. These are around 12-inch rotors. They do a pretty adequate job. I wouldn't say, again, this isn't performance focused, but they'll still bring you to a standstill. I think it's a well-balanced car for being a base model. Handling, a little vague. Again, you can tell it's not a sports car, this particular spec, but overall, I think it's a good package for the money. If you're looking for a cool new muscle car, put the new Mustang on your list, absolutely. They did a pretty cool job. So that is it. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for plenty more content. And I'm certainly excited to test out the new lineup of the Ford Mustang, see what they got to offer in the GTs, in the performance packages, and see all the cool options. I'll see you guys in the next video.